Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Dr. Xiaolin Chen, head of international at KraneShares, to discuss the future of transportation and mobility in China. Dr. Chen, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me, Jill.
You got it. Let's start with the macroeconomic outlook in China. Now that the pandemic restrictions have been removed, what are your thoughts on the macro?
China is just had its full quarter of GDP growth post the pandemic restriction removed. Q1's GDP delivered, surprised the market on the upside. Now the market's consensus is China could potentially deliver 8% GDP for the whole year. We have high expectations for Q2 that GDP number will beat market expectation again. We do believe this is actually achievable. Obviously, the central bank in China and the policymakers in China have to act together to provide the needed supportive policies, physical spendings for green infrastructure particularly has to be in place quickly.
What about China's digital economy?
Yeah, digital economy is very important in China. It's accounted approximately 40% of the country's growth. The broader sector within the digital economy, though, had experienced a very strict regulation tightening cycle in 2021, 2022. The good news is that tightening of regulation cycle is completely behind us now. If you remember the National People's Congress, the NPC, happened this year in March. The new leadership and the policy announced at the meeting was extensively touched based on private sectors, technology. These are the firms that contribute big way into the digital economy. All the names are front and center. To be benefited from the policy announced there. And I think the NPC also subsequently said their GDP target is 5% for the year and finding jobs for almost 12 million people this year. Jill, that's not a very easy job to meet and exceed. So they do need private sector. They do need the digital economy to contribute significantly and in a big way to help them to achieve that goal.
China is the top market for electric vehicles in the world. What does the future of transportation and mobility look like?
China has set very ambitious goals for carbon. President Xi Jinping mentioned this in his work report when they met at the Chinese Communist Party back last year and in the NPC. It's one of the two initiatives that President Xi Jinping has repeatedly mentioned, one being the One Belt, One Road, and the other one being carbon neutral goal that he has set, early in 2020s. This is very important, and China and Chinese corporates has significantly developed and progressed in carbon, in electrical vehicle, particularly like you named rightly. Today, China is the largest electrical vehicle market in the world, and so is the top renewable energy. China is, has been experiencing tremendous growth and is continue experiencing tremendous growth. And then in terms of dealing with carbon and EV as part of the solution, China has launched their own emission trading systems. It's very established in US, it's very established in Europe, and China has followed their footstep in 2021, established their own ETS. But that ETS is still developing. It's not yet tradable for global investors. I think those mechanisms and the infrastructure is in place. We expect more developments towards positive to achieve carbon reductions in China in the coming years.
Chinese unicorns have been offered support from top to bottom as China is incentivizing top talents to return home and contribute to those areas in technology that you've been describing. What are some of those incentives to get companies and top talent back?
Is innovation and technology is a key area for Chinese governments to develop and continue to develop. It's at their front and center. It's a matter of national securities. China realizing how late they got into the game in many technology and innovation area. Early in 2021, they set up their own trading systems, and they also allowing a new trading platforms on Shanghai Stock Exchange. They call them Chinese own Nasdaq, like a Nasdaq in US. They offering a platform to allowing Chinese unicorns to local listed in Shanghai. It was not achievable. Remember when Alibaba launched or listed in US, it was for a simple reason. The company was running negative P&L for 3 consecutive years. You couldn't possibly list it in Shanghai. They have learned that license. They want to be able to offer that platforms, allowing public fundings to go to these Chinese unicorns, and particularly for them to have nothing to worry about financing. They allow this platform to be platform to become available in Shanghai Stock Exchange. Is all around favorable policies on tax, on income and incentives, and also reimburse the R&D cost for them to continue to deliver, and focus on their research and R&D and deliver the results they need to deliver for the next phase of technology rise in China.
And what about sustainability, right? We need China to get on board, considering that they're the largest emitter of carbon dioxide in the world. How open are they to achieving climate change?
They're very committed. We have to give them the credit. We don't deny China is the largest emission committer in the world. We need China's contribution commitments for the whole world to be able to achieve this very ambitious goal and very needed goal. I think China is absolutely committed. That President Xi Jinping has made that carbon reduction, the 2030 and 2060 goal, become a national strategy for the country to focus on policy making. In fact, last year, they host the first ever in history of a carbon neutral Winter Olympics in Beijing. So that just shows and proves they are trying very hard to prove their skills, their needed technology to deliver the 2030 and 2060 goal, and which they have showed in the large scale of Winter Olympic to be a carbon neutral Winter Olympics, first ever in history. The rest of the policy are follow. Electrical vehicle is front and center. Renewable energy is front and center. I do hope the policymakers are putting their acts together to provide more physical support, physical spending. It's not only creating jobs, but also is needed for their green infrastructure.
All right, Dr. Chen, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you for having me.